right. Hello, everyone. Let's see if we can get us off of the live one. There we are, Dave. We made it.
Yes, we have. I never thought I'd have a show in Vegas, and yet here we are, Las Vegas, Nevada, having our live show today.
We are so glad that you're with us. As always, we are here every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Central Time, bringing you the best of retirement questions here with Dave Hall. And we want to thank all of those who are with us live and those on replay. It's so great to have you joining us. Dave, let's talk about where you are today, because like you said, you're in Las Vegas doing a live show today.
Yeah, very exciting to be back where I originally started my career. I started here in 1995, January 1st, New Year's Day. We had actually moved here on New Year's Eve, having no clue what Vegas was like on New Year's Eve. For those of you that have been here, you understand how chaotic the Strip is. My wife and I had come down to the Strip earlier in the day, and I thought, man, it's sure busy. I'd been coming here for decades because my uncle lives here. Thought, boy, it's sure busy. Left at about 4:30, not realizing that we just barely missed them locking the Strip down, where we wouldn't have even been able to get out. But yeah, January 2nd or 3rd, I ended up starting my career here, and glad to be back here for AICPA's annual conference.
Yeah, so we are here in the Aria Hotel, and we are here at the conference right now. And Dave, we've had a great few days already. We've been talking to a lot of CPAs, talking about retirement, and it's been fantastic at the booth, at the show. It's been awesome.
It really has. It's always nice to connect with people. We've seen many people that we've known virtually, but yet not had an opportunity to meet in person that we've been able to connect with, and a number of people that we've known for years that are here that we've been able to connect with, and a lot of new friends that we've been able to connect with here at the show.
And if you're watching this live, or if you've been part of this show and you are here at AICPA, be sure to stop by and see us. And we'd love to say hello. You can catch our booth there on the floor. I think we're open today at noon, Dave, Pacific time.
Yes, we are. Noon until 6:30 this evening. We'll be there at our booth. 304, I believe, is the number.
That's
304.
Right.
Meet us there at the booth. Happy to talk to you, not only about what we do, but to learn more about what you do and what we can do to help you in your life, or vice versa. If there's things that you can do for us, always happy to connect with people.
And those who are not here in Vegas, we still welcome you. We still love having you here and be able to answer your questions. As always, I throw a bunch of questions at Dave. We have everything from long-term care, 401k, Social Security. Dave, we have it all. We throw the questions at you, and then we get your advice on how to answer a lot of these questions. And we do this for about 30 minutes. So, Dave, if you're ready, we're going to dive into it and get going.
I am ready. Let's do it. It's like, noon time for me. I guess 11 o'clock. It is noon for you. So yeah, we've got half our day over by now.
Yeah, we're just starting here, but man, it sure is fun. All right, Dave, let's get our first one on here. This one's from Ginny. Will Medicare deductibles likely increase in 2023? If so, any clue as to how much?
Yeah, they will go up. They always do. Unfortunately, I do not know what that amount is. It's all based upon inflation rates as they estimate it throughout the year, and the additional costs that it's going to take to cover the various things related to Medicare. But when we're looking at this, again, it's not going to be near as concerning as your premium. If we look at the deductibles, Part A, the deductibles somewhere around $1,300 to $1,500 per benefit period, and that may go up to $1,600. I don't know what it is. You may have a $100 increase for those that never go in the hospital, never going to have to worry about it. For your Part B deductible, it's $233 per year. So maybe it goes to $250. Well, if we look back at the premiums you're paying, we went up over 14% last year. We're at $170.10. That goes up another 10%. Now all of a sudden you're $187, and you're paying that month after month after month for everyone. It's not just those that are ending up in the hospital. But yes, expected to go up. We should see probably somewhere around September, October, what the amount's going to be for 2023 going into that year.
Dave, any advice on how we can plan for these increases?
We've got to do a better job of saving for our cost of medicine. This is one of the things that even here at the event, I've been able to attend a lot of classes, connect with other experts that I teach on platforms with that, again, we've had chances to talk many times, but never got to connect. And they just continually push healthcare is going to be a major issue in retirement. You better figure out how to deal with it. HSAs can be a great place to save money that you can then later use in retirement. But don't think that you're going to go into retirement and all of a sudden Medicare is just going to cover everything unless you have no money to begin with. I guess if you're that individual, then Medicaid will step in and help cover those costs. But for most of us, especially CPAs that have had good careers, could end up costing us $1,000, $2,000, maybe even $3,000 a month that we could end up paying in retirement just for our medical costs.
And if you have more questions on Medicare, you can always watch our show we did last week. We keep all of those on our platform for Facebook and YouTube. And we had Chuck on there from Medicare Compare USA, and he talked a lot about Medicare, answering questions. So I'd always advise, Dave, if people are looking for more information for Medicare, how do they find that besides Chuck and his group?
Yeah, there's a number of ways that you can get information. I will tell you, we offer a number of resources, including a webinar where we include Medicare in that education. But a lot of that's going to go away. It's not going to be available to most people because we're realizing that they're not using it effectively. We want to put it in an environment where it can help better educate those who are making commitments to their retirement. But also Medicare.gov is a great place to get resources as well. If you go there, there's a lot of articles, a lot of research you can do. It is a great place to just get basic questions answered.
All right, Dave, let's move along. And before we get to our next question, I do want to remind those that are here live, if they do have a retirement question, go ahead and put that in the comments, and I'll do my best to squeeze those in between all the other questions that are coming in. All right, Dave, my next question here is from Elijah. There is a good chance I will need long-term care coverage. If I had both long-term care insurance and a rider for long-term care under my life insurance, how will they work together?
Yeah, generally you're going to be able to get the benefits of both. So as you look at it, they're not independent. It's not like your health insurance where you may have a primary insured and a secondary insured, and Medicare is going to cover first and your health insurance is going to cover second. Doesn't work that way. You've paid money for these separate policies. Therefore, whatever benefits you're entitled to under these policies, that's what you're going to get. And I don't know how your benefits are structured, if they're structured as a daily amount that you would end up getting, if they're going to cover various costs associated with that. Now, if it's reimbursed cost, obviously you're not going to get a bunch of extra money. So you're going to have to work together with those companies. And I would assume they would have a split that would cover those at a given point. But typically they're going to work simultaneously with each other. You'll be able to get both benefits.
Dave, I like this question where it says, there's a good chance I will need long-term care coverage. And you're saying that there's not only a good chance, but there's a great chance you're going to need it.
Yeah, there really is. And it sounds like maybe Elijah's got some either family history where they've had a number of issues. Maybe he already knows based upon his own health history that he's going to have some issues as he ages. But as we look at it, a third of us are going to end up permanently disabled before we pass away. Pretty hard to believe. Many of us will go through 70, 80 years of our life being very healthy, and then at the end start having some issues that are going to cause us a lot of costs as we get to that point in our life.
So, Dave, if we're together, we had one more person, one of us is going to need long-term care.
Yeah, statistics, that's what it shows. And for those that are married, and also you got two of the three. Now, hopefully you're not, I guess people do this stuff, but I'm assuming you're not a polygamist where you've got multiple wives. But I guess if that is you, you got a chance, one of you for sure is going to have it. But if we look at it from a standard couple relationship, if you're married, you've got two of the three. I mean, that puts you at about a 67% chance. If you're a single individual, 33% chance you're going to have a long-term care issue.
Well, Dave, let's jump to my next question here from Esmeralda. My employer offers a 401k and a Roth. Should I just utilize the 401k or take advantage of the Roth too?
Yeah, I'm going to answer. Let me provide some more clarity here. And I just want to make sure for those that are listening to the show that you understand they're both 401ks. I think many times we look at this and say a traditional plan, that's the 401k. Roth is something different. It's not something different. It's still 401k. It's just how the tax treatment is handled. For most people, I will tell you, I would take advantage of the Roth option. Any employer match at currently is going to get put into the traditional option. So it's going to build that up to get to the amounts we want to have inside of there once you get into retirement. But for most of you, we are going to want that money going into a Roth. And 46, especially, you look at, you've got 40, maybe 50 years of life left. You're probably maybe just hitting the halfway point. That's a lot of years for taxes to go up and change. And none of us believe that educated at a high level anymore believe there's any way taxes can stay down where they've been, because we've just got too many liabilities coming ahead of us.
So Dave, if we're listening to this right now and we say we just have our traditional 401k, how do we get into the next step where you're talking about getting into our Roth? Because a lot of people may not even know they have this option, or maybe not even at work, and they're looking at this by saying, how do I take advantage of this?
This is another thing, CR, that's been a little surprising to me when I've gone to many of the classes. There's not been a lot of discussion about Roth, especially from financial advisors. Now, when you get those that are really focusing on the risks that retirement's going to be faced with, you get a whole different story. But from your traditional financial advisor, they just want to show you fancy charts and somehow prove to you they're the smartest person in the room, even though you have no idea what they're talking about, but you somehow trust them. They really aren't talking about Roth accounts. Most 401ks now do come with a Roth option, but you've got to find that out through your employer. And if it doesn't, you should ask for it. We're in an environment now that we should have these not tax-free assets, not tax deferred. You're going to put money in there and it's going to grow tax-free. Don't have to worry about where tax rates go. So you're going to need to do some homework, but you should really seriously look at the impact it's going to have. We all think during our working years, CR, that our taxes are going to be way worse than they are in retirement. And we're finding that is just not true for many people. They're paying way more taxes in retirement than they ever did during the working years.
It's very good to know, Dave. So again, for all of those that just have their 401k, they need to go to their company, especially to HR, and say, hey, I want the Roth option, and make a change. Make sure you're doing something today.
Absolutely. Got to take action.
All right, Dave, let's get to my next question here. This is one from Sven. Any advice on retirement planning a year out?
Yeah, that you really probably should have started 5 years out. Hopefully you did that. When you really look at it, we want a 5-10 year plan going into retirement, what we're doing. If you're a year out and you're just trying to figure things out, you really need to sit down with an advisor who can put a plan together to figure out if you're ready or not. We talk about it with our risk-based plan. The best thing it provides to people is using standard financial modeling that is taking very conservative approaches. When you're going to run out of money if you are, and then what you can do to extend that, especially if risk gets in the middle of that retirement, what you can do to extend that. So for someone in this position, definitely sit down, let's get some advice going into there. Let's get a plan put together so you can figure out what that really looks like, because that's going to tell you what you need to do. If you're in good shape and you got millions of dollars and never going to run out of money, and your lifestyle is such that you don't spend that much, maybe you don't have to do anything. But if you're someone that's on the verge, like over half America is, you're going to run out of money at some point. There's a lot of planning you're going to want to put in place, especially during these early years of your retirement, because it's those years, CR, that destroy it all. It's like going on a trip and all of a sudden you get off course. You hear the story many times where someone's flying in an airplane and they just get off course just a little bit in the beginning and they think, oh, that's not that bad. Well, then you go out 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 miles and all of a sudden you're not even close to the destination you were going to. Same thing with this. We get off course in the beginning, really wreaks havoc as we get into our late 70s, early 80s, and definitely into our 90s.
And Dave, you mentioned the risk-based plan. How do I know if I need one of these plans, and when do I need to start looking into these plans?
Yeah. If you've got any concerns that you're going to run out of money, which 68% of Americans do have this concern, you need a risk-based plan, because you need to take that worry off the table. I mean, there's no reason for people to sit here throughout their retirement years, worry day and night, especially with the stock market that doesn't have any rhyme or reason to it right now at all, going up and down 1%, 2%, 3% every day, just dropping off 10% since the beginning of the year. You want some certainty. You want to have some certainty that, hey, this is going to work out. And if this happens, this is where my problem's going to be. it's just like you going down the road in your car. If you've prepared and you got everything done in your car, well, it's great, but you end up having a flat tire and you didn't check the spare and now it's flat, or you don't have one, somebody stole it. You got a major issue. But if you planned and prepared for it, it's like, okay, I know what to do. Maybe even tested out the jack at your home so you understand how it works. You've figured out how to get the tire off the car. So all of a sudden you're like, look, I'm good. I jump out here. Yeah, it's hot. Maybe it's not something I want to do, but within 30 minutes, I got to change them back on the road. Not a problem. Versus the other side where you could be stuck there for hours and maybe a day or two trying to get everything fixed.
Such great advice, Dave. Well, I know we're already halfway through our show. Imagine that, but we're going to keep going because I've got so many questions. So Dave, let's get to my next one. We've got Percy, age 56. I have almost a year's worth of living expenses saved in my emergency fund. Should I have more saved?
Not in that fund, in my opinion. In fact, I believe you've got too much. There are other advisors out there that are stretching the 6 months out into 12 months, saying if you've got enough other assets, not going to hurt you at all to have an extra 6 months in your emergency fund. But what we find is if you're a saver, you have too much. And if you don't save, obviously you don't have enough. There's not enough in there. But for whatever reason, those that are really active in their savings seem to put way too much money in here. And it's been proven statistically that 6 months is enough, even during your working years, to get most people back on their feet. Retirement be the same. Again, if you have down market, 6 months, usually going to have some correction or adjustments there to be able to get yourself in a better position, to be able to get into accounts that maybe you weren't able to before. But I don't see a real need to be setting aside this much money that's unproductive, especially right now. CR, the estimation is if it's in his emergency fund, that's in a bank account at a bank or a savings account that he can get quick access to. That's paying probably 0.25% or less. And yet we've had inflation at 8 or 9%. So he's losing a lot of money every year, and everyone, if we get too much money in that account.
And Dave, I'm sure if Percy was on here live, they would ask, where do I put my money then? So if I have 6 months, like you talk about, I set aside, where is the rest of this 5 or 6 months worth of income? Should I be putting this?
Yeah, where you're going to get it is back into an organized plan where you've got it inside of, again, either the tax deferred bucket, the taxable bucket, depending on how much money you've got inside of those buckets. Obviously, here you've got in a taxable, and so you're in a situation where you've got to get tax deferred or tax free. You may not be able to get it into like a Roth account. It's already outside of there. Your Roth contributions may not be high enough going through a traditional Roth investment. So you may have to use a life insurance policy or something else, but that's going to require planning. Unfortunately, those type of things, when we talk about where money goes, we can't just give a blanket statement and say it should go into this area and that's where you're going to be protected.
And I appreciate that. Well, Dave, let's jump down to my next question here. This is from Hank. Can I use a self-direct plan to purchase real estate?
Absolutely. And if you are going to buy real estate, it is my recommendation. This is how you buy it, but in the Roth version of the self-directed plan. I want to make sure that that monthly rental income that's coming in is going to be tax-free the rest of your life, not going to cause issues with Social Security taxation. So I would recommend doing a self-directed plan. Many great companies out there that can help you set that together, and then using it in a Roth environment if you can get enough money in there to do so.
Dave, what else can I get with this self-direct? I mean, there's a lot of things that are on the list, but is there other things you would recommend besides just real estate?
Yeah, anytime anyone's trying to get into an environment where they have a lot of knowledge on a topic and it's not your traditional investment structure, we're seeing like, cryptocurrency, it's becoming more mainstream, but we saw many people set up self-directed accounts, but those type of assets in, we've seen people put businesses in here. Again, I tell people to be very, very careful because over half of these businesses are going to go out and you don't want your retirement money at that high of a risk of loss. But again, if it's something that you're extremely good at, I've done accounting and financial services throughout my life. Not that I'm structuring it this way, but to structure a CPA firm that would be inside of a retirement account, I would have no concerns that business was not going to work. I've proven, for decades that I can do this type of work in what I do. So that's not a high risk investment to me. But if you're someone that's, found the local new business you think you're going to run and you're going to put all your retirement assets, I will tell you, my experience has been 9 times out of 10, even in those situations, higher than 50%, it's not going to work out for you.
And if you want to find any more of these information that's self-directed as we talk about that, or we talk about even crypto, Dave, you've got so much other information out there. We talk about other webinars. We talk about our podcast. There's lots of other opportunities for those who are watching to be able to get some more education as they're looking into this. But Dave, is that going to solve their problem as they're gathering more and more information on this?
No, and this is where you're going to see some changes from us coming up as we're realizing we're providing a whole lot of education to people and they're not acting upon it. They don't have the motivation to do it themselves. So they get all the information and all of a sudden they do nothing with it. So you're going to see some changes. It's all going to be good for the betterment of you and your situation, but to where you're going to have a much more structured layout of how to get yourself where you need to be. And that's going to include risk-based plans that are going to show you when's the D-Day? When do I run out of money? If I do, what happens if I stress that? What date's that? And how can I extend that out? And we've got so many examples of the hundreds of people we've worked with where we've been able to extend that day out 10, 15, 20 years. I mean, hard to believe what can be done if you do appropriate planning.
Well, Dave, let's get to another question here. We have a little bit of time left. This is from Rupert. What is the best way to save for health and medical care costs? An annuity, saving in an HSA, or both?
Yeah, so I would recommend, depending on how large that HSA becomes and what you're expecting medical costs to be. Now, realize that the average couple is going to spend about $285. I did hear someone mention here at the event that I'm at that it's up higher, over 300,000 now. I'm not sure where they got their statistics. Mine came from pretty reliable source when we look at the research that's being done. But you've got 285, 300,000 you're going to spend on medical costs. If you've got an HSA that's large enough to be able to cover those, go ahead and just leave it in the HSA. But annuities can be a great way because you can buy multiple annuities to where you may never even use that annuity or turn it into annuitize it, turn it into a monthly stream of income. But if you do have a medical issue, may allow you to turn that on, use the money for the medical issue, and then have that money the rest of your life versus passing it on to kids or grandkids or a charity.
Dave, and as Rupert talks about here, as we talk about saving for health and medical care costs, what are we talking? How much do we need to set aside? Because this seems like it's something that we don't get enough information on.
So again, you're looking close to 300,000 for a couple. It's 150 for a male, 135 for a female. It's strange that men live shorter lives, but women spend less on medicine. Usually, when you look across the board, women are healthier in general. Not always the case. Got very healthy men, very healthy women, but the statistics show that they're going to spend less money during that period of time. And so it's just making sure you've got it set aside and you've budgeted for it. Because again, if you don't have the money, you're going to have to spend everything down, and then Medicaid will step in and help you with Medicare. But that's when you're broke. It's not going to just step in if you're saying, hey, I got my mortgage still or something. Unfortunately, I got my cars. I want to travel. I want to do all these things. I just don't have enough money for the medical stuff. If I get that out of the way, I could do all the other things I want to do in life. Well, you're going to have to pay for the medical costs and get rid of all those other things if you don't have a plan for it.
And I want to remind you that, again, if you are here live, we'll go ahead and get your questions in. Like I said, we'll do our best to continue to squeeze the questions in. We're getting closer on our time here. But again, we'd love to hear from you as well. And if you're on replay and you didn't get your chance to submit a question, you can always go to retirementriskadvisors.com and go to our contact tab and go ahead and send us a message there, and we'll get it on a future show. All right, Dave, I've got a few more questions here we're going to try to squeeze in before we go. This is from Henry and Sylvia. I'm a year away from retirement. Is there anything I can do now to combat our high inflation?
Yeah, what you're going to want to do is look at products that are going to help you over time keep up with that inflation. Now, that's going to require, again, a plan put in place to see where you're at, what issue it's going to be for you in your retirement, and what products can help you get through those periods of time. And again, whether it's an annuity, whether it's a structured note, something else, you're going to want to look at products that can help you get through there.
And Dave, as we're looking at this too, Henry and Sylvia, they're 68. They're saying, I'm a year away from retirement. What are they too late? Are they still planning too late, or should have they done this a long time ago?
No, I mean, there could have been some planning that would have been done before, but I'll tell you, they've done one of the smartest things you can do for your retirement. Now, whether it was because they felt they had to or because they chose to, is they continued to work. We all think that retirement's just this, endless joy and happiness and abyss. And for some people it is. Some people have the money and the resources or have the passion for other projects that they're able to retire in their 60s and live out those next 20 or 30 years. The problem is most people aren't. So they get into retirement and all of a sudden they get through maybe that first year and life's changed drastically. Nobody really cares about them anymore. You and your spouse are on different ends of the spectrum because you've been gone in a career your whole life. So you're having a hard time getting connected again. All these things happen that when we look at it, that many of us should work longer. And it doesn't mean going into those years that you necessarily have to work full time. I mean, many people would be better off to say, hey, rather than just quitting completely, why don't I do 2 days a week? Why don't I do 3 days a week? Let's keep the skills up. Let's keep the knowledge up. And then if I decide that I want to get out of work full time, let's go ahead and do that. But if not, I've still got the skills I could take some extra days on. I could get that money coming back because, and CR, it's not just about money. It's about our whole mental health, our whole life, what we get out of life, our physical health, all those things, all that's falling apart in your retirement. You're not going to have a very happy retirement. So if work helps you do that from a financial, mental, spiritual, physical, whatever it may be, I'm all on board with Henry and Sylvia to just keep working when we look at life expectancy and they could still have another 20 plus years of retirement. They could have a lot of great years to do the things they want to do.
And Dave, I'm glad you brought that up because we're not only looking at inflation, but we're looking at longevity. And that's something where, again, there's so many risks of what we need to look at. But you're saying even if they retire at 70, they could live 20, 30 more years. And that's something that we also have to look at. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, and you're going to end up with a double whammy. Unfortunately, many people are if you look at it. I mean, if you've got inflation that's causing you to spend 8 to 10% more than you would typically spend. And then we have a stock market crash. So all of your assets just went down. Again, they've been down 10% so far this year. There's many top advisors are saying it could be as far as 30 or 40%. All of a sudden you lost 40% of your assets. You're spending 10% more. It is a recipe for running out of money. And that's why what we're doing is so critical. So we're trying to ensure you have the products and tools in place. So when these things happen, you wake up and say, oh, okay, the market's down today. Well, that's too bad for those folks that depend upon it, but I don't have to depend upon it. So I can still go to the movie. I can still go shop. I can still go out to dinner. And unfortunately, far too many retirees are not able to do that. They're stressed to the hilt. This market's driving many of them nuts because they're having to figure out what it's going to be next and should they stay in as the market hit bottom, or is it going to be much lower than it is? Don't want to miss out on the upsides. What happens if you're just retiring? I mean, just all kinds of issues they've got to deal with that people don't have to if they do it right.
I agree. Well, Dave, let's go ahead and see if I can squeeze our question in here from Mike. Mike's coming from Facebook. I read that if you are already on Medicare A and B, that you cannot set up a HSA plan. Why are folks over 65 being blocked from setting up an HSA?
Mike, you are absolutely correct in what you're saying. If you go on to Medicare, you can no longer contribute into an HSA. So you can have a plan, you can distribute out of the plan, you just cannot set it up. And I'm not sure why they made the change. There's some legislation out there that may fix some of this. Not sure why they punished the elderly people and saying, hey, we're not going to allow you to continue to put money into these plans, especially with as expensive as healthcare cost is in retirement. But you're absolutely correct. And those of you that are still working, there's a number of things you need to be careful of here. If you are putting into an HSA, once you go on to Social Security, understand you automatically have to take Medicare Part A. So if you were looking at even at age 62 and you're thinking, hey, I'm going to, I'll take Social Security early, I'm working part-time, I'm going to be able to, get my health insurance through my employer. I'm not going to have to worry about the A and B. I can put it into my HSA. Once you sign up for Medicare, and again, if you're over 65, Medicare Part A will go back, once you sign up for Social Security, and if you're over 65, Medicare will go back 6 months on Part A. You're deemed to have Part A, and you can't contribute any longer. So wish I had a better answer, Mike, for why they did it, but you're correct on the law that you can't be contributing once you get onto Medicare.
And it's great to see you on here, Mike. And we really appreciate that question coming from the live side on Facebook.
And let me make one more comment or two. Understand, again, it's not like in his thing, in his example there, said Part A and B. It's not just A and B. It's either A or B. And you can't get on B without A. So understand that, hey, if you have any form of Medicare, you are not going to be able to put money into your HSA. And again, remember 6 month go back for Part A. That's the free part. And once you sign up for Social Security, you're automatically getting signed up.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Dave. I've had time. Maybe we'll squeeze in. I got about a minute left. So I'm going to squeeze in one more question here. This is from Donna. I would like my assets to help my family after I pass. What is the best product for inheritance?
Permanent insurance. I will tell you, index. I like indexed universal life insurance because you're paying pennies on the dollar. You're investing a small amount now that's going to go to a large amount when you pass the money on. No matter when you pass away, if you happen to die at 65 or 95, you're going to have this pool of money, and it's all going to be tax free. There's not going to be taxes they have to worry about. All that's going to go to them tax free. Great way to transfer money. And in your situation, understand you're not going to be able to do this in a lump sum. Many people believe the laws are still to where you could take $150,000, maybe put it into a plan, buy $1 million insurance policy, and that's going to end up being one and done. You're going to have to put amount in over 4 to 6 years. So again, if you're putting 150,000, maybe you're putting $25,000 a year into there. Once it's funded, then that full amount becomes tax free. And along the way, it does. I mean, again, if you died after putting the first premium in, you'd still have the insurance, but it's just not designed to last if that's the only payment you ever made.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for answering all their questions. We are out of time, and I want to thank all of those people who have submitted their questions, those who have been here with us live. And Dave, Mike is also saying a big thank you from Facebook as well. Appreciate, Mike, when you jump on, and for all the rest that are here with us live and on replay. We really appreciate you being here and participating in this, because as Dave, we've talked about several times throughout the show, there's one thing to come on and get the education. There's another thing to come on and take action. So I want to encourage all of you that are with us to continually to do something, continually take action in your retirement, and not just sit back and learn, but really take initiative in this today.
Absolutely. And Mike, it's always good to have you. Thanks for joining us. And my takeaway from what I've seen here at the show, again, I've seen some great stuff, talked with some great people. It's the confirmation that I've had for a long period of time. Retirement's about income, not about assets. If you can get yourself into good streams of income that will allow you to maintain the lifestyle you have, you will have a much happier retirement than the person that's having to deal with the ups and downs of the bonds and stock markets and all those things that happen on a daily, weekly, monthly basis.
Well, Dave, again, thank you so much for your time, and we will see you again next Wednesday.
Okay. Look forward to it.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week, and we'll see you. Hopefully, we'll see you at the AICPA show if you are here in Vegas. If not, stay tuned, and we'll see you at some other future events we have or other opportunities we have coming up. All right. Thanks. See ya.